You guys want to check out what I got going so far? Everyone keeps asking shit that I don't want to read. Uh-oh.
Thank you.
Shit is shaped poorly. Poorly shaped. Can you hold tab or shift or something to make this move? Is it shift? Whoa! Alright, well, I didn't know. Am I stoned? I didn't know you could do that. What the fuck is that? Oh shit. How did I do that? Oh my god. How do I fix that?
Thank you.
How do you bring it back to... Alright, let's start over. Let's try this again.
Thank you.
This is the tier list I made. And I have a lot of splaining to do. Before you really digest this, first of all, this is a tournament tier list. Not death matches, not, anything else. Tournament tier list. So what does that mean? It means that I'm factoring in a few things way heavier than other things normally. Pressure is the #1 key factor in tournaments. So moves that get you out of pressure when you're in the fight or flight are more valued on my tier list than they would be in a long set. Moves like backswing blows, high crush, low crush that are high reward, low risk. Because all you have to do is hit one thing in a tournament and it's game over. You hit the whole round. The momentum, because you crush the opponent's morale, gives you another round, so now you're already 2 rounds up. So this type of thing I think is huge for tournaments. First of all, the characters that are in this lowest group are the enthusiast characters. What does that mean? It means that the only reason to use these characters is if you really love these characters. You are connected to the character, you love them, you think about doing Yoshi combos when you go to sleep like Just Frame James, or you're like Spiro Jin, you love Eddie, you'll never give up on Tiger Jackson, or you're a little bitch and you just got off social studies class and you're playing Chloe. This is the tier list for enthusiasts. There's no real reason to pick these characters outside of that, basically. There are other characters in this game that do way better, do the same things that these characters do, but way better. It's not that these characters are bad. In fact, Heihachi is hella good. But why the fuck are you picking Heihachi? Right? He's hella good. But why? Why would you pick him when this guy is right here? You're utilizing a very similar skill set. And this guy's a monster. So that's why. That's why I put him in B. You also have to keep in mind, this has got to be one of the most balanced games all around ever. It's super balanced. This is a tight tier list. Alright? So, starting at the top. The reason, I honestly think all these characters are the same. This is my top 10. And there are 13 characters in it. I think most people's top 10s have more than 10 characters in it. This, to me, these are all the best characters in the game, right? And the only reason that these characters shine above these characters is that they do something, they control the way the match goes better than any other character in the game.
Thank you.
They dictate the pace. They change the way the whole game has to be played. People call these characters a wall. Like you don't know what to do to get through this wall. It's just like a wall of beastly moves that dictate everything. They push you around, they're oppressive, you don't feel confident when you're retaliating, for example, against Xiao Yu. So these are characters that are like really, really good. Their move choices in these cases, the first 4, are very easy. This is tournament. You have to remember, in tournament, the pressure makes decision making the hardest thing. One of the hardest things in tournament is decision making because you're under pressure. Think about anything you do in your life. Decision making under pressure, it's the hardest thing to do. So when you look at these characters in the S category, and you compare them to the characters in the S plus category, you'll see that these characters, you got a lot more decision making to do, because these characters have been around for 100 years and they've never taken anything away from them. They've only added more. Fang gets all these new moves, corkscrews, all kinds of these new tools. All these characters have more or less been buffed and buffed over the years. So now they're so strong because they have this huge list of this arsenal of moves. They have a tool for every situation. But the problem is decision making under pressure. They have the tools.
Beast moves.
Hey, thanks guys. I appreciate it. Be cool. These guys have the tools to be S tier, but because they have so many good moves, in 2 out of 3, it's hard for a human to decide what the right move is all the time, right? That's why these characters are so good. Simple and dangerous, especially the first 4 here. Jack, Dragunov, Kazumi, Devil Jin. These characters, you only need to ever see a small handful of moves per character. Very small handful. And they'll win the whole tournament with this small handful of moves. The other characters here, you gotta use way more moves. You gotta use the drill. You gotta use the Phillips screwdriver. You have the tools for the job, but we're human. And it's pretty hard to do that in 2 out of 3 perfectly when you have so many things to choose from. When you look at these characters, let me just do jackhammer. Let me just do jackhammer. Let me do running 2, down 2. Let me do down 3, stature kick, the mid chop, control the space, control the match with oppressive pokes and movement, right? Devil Jin, electric, hell sweep. He's just buff, right? And we've seen it many times. So to me, this group, they're all hella good. This is my top 10. But S plus is S plus. They clearly are better. They dictate the match. They can do things that make you just shocked. They're just super oppressive characters. So that's S.
Thank you.
That's my S. Let me drink some water. What were we talking about? Let's see here. Oh yes. The tier list. So let me think if I have anything else to say about this S category. I mean, you know, some of these characters, there's a lot of execution introduced, which keeps the characters in here. And when I was younger, I used to think that execution and a high execution level is a big factor in tournament. But now, as I've seen people play over like 15 years, I now know that execution is a way smaller factor than decision making, because decision making is active. Execution is you do it 1,000 times before you sleep, you do it 1,000 times when you wake up, you could do it with your eyes closed. So I think that having high execution shouldn't hurt these characters nearly as much as being limited in one department or another. Now there are some cases, like, let's move down here to a character like Nina, right? Nina, Kazuya, you know, some of these characters have moderate to high execution. You know, Harang, moderate to high execution. But the thing is, if you execute even at the perfect level, the thing that you get doesn't necessarily even beat these S tier characters. And you can't get to the perfect level. You can't even come close, you know? So I feel like the A, I'll give you my explanation on A plus versus A here. But as far as this A group goes, to me, I honestly think these 3 characters, A plus, they are S tier characters, but they're very limited. That's the problem with these 3 characters. I think that these characters are kind of like S tier characters, but such a small, limited move list, and a human can easily remember every single move that you have that's dangerous, in their mind actively at all times for these 3 characters. That's not good when it comes to an S level character, because even their best moves, none of them are extremely oppressive. There are no moves in these characters' arsenals that are extremely oppressive, that dictate everything. Akuma is kind of, he's weird. This is a weird character. I feel like sometimes he looks like he's S+, and sometimes he looks like he's B. But I know the potential is there. I've seen it in tournaments many times. I think that he's up there. I think Josie is limited, actually, because she doesn't have any knockdown lows or dangerous lows, and you can remember every move she does easily on one hand, cheat sheet. So if you pick all these other characters, right, or any of these characters, you're going to be able to control her, I think, more than these characters. I mean, she's still S. Basically, A+ and S is the same. But these characters, I feel like they're a little limited. For me, in my opinion. And Shaheen's S too, for sure. But I don't feel comfortable putting them in my top 10, which has already 13 characters in it. You feel me? My top 10 already has 13 characters in it. I don't feel comfortable putting these 3 in there. They don't go there, to me. Why are these characters S? There are multiple reasons. We could go into details about all of them. But the thing that they all share is what I said earlier. These characters are legacy characters. So this guy's been in since Tekken 5.0. This guy's been in since 4. Tekken 1. This one is 6. This one is whatever. You get it. So these characters have been out for a long time. And they never nerfed them in a way that changes their style. They only added more and more tools. So the thing that they all share is that they're legacy characters with hella good moves. Tons of good moves. The weapon arsenal is massive. Of all these characters, huge. Compare that to these 3 characters. It's clear to me that these characters have a giant list of moves that are super usable in tournament. These 3, I don't think it's the same. I think the difference is clear to me. You feel me? Now the only one that's really left to me is A, right? And I feel like the characters in this group are basically the mid-tier of the game, right? And they'll all get the job done. But when you start looking at the A group, you start to really see weaknesses. You see what I mean? You start to see weaknesses, limitations, a lot of work for not a lot of reward, or why am I playing Kazuya if I could be playing Devil Jin, or, just like high risk, big gaps in their offensive playstyle, lots of situations where this character, for example, I think she's very good. But she needs more than 2 out of 3 to know the right thing to do. Because half of the shit she does puts herself into a mix-up where she's back-turned and she has to guess what you do. So in 2 out of 3, you make the wrong choice once, you died. But in a long set, you have time to be like, okay, what do you do when I do this move? What do you do when I do that move? And you can adjust accordingly. So she becomes way weaker in tournament, if you ask me. And, basically this list here, they're just very strong middle tier characters, or they're very strong characters, but there's some weakness in one way or another keeping them from being elite characters, in my opinion. I think all these characters can get the job done. They're special. They all have strengths that are really, big, it's a big deal. Strong characters. And unique, too. This is also a unique category. Remember, this B category is not a unique category. It's like, why would you go out of your way to play these characters unless you're a enthusiast and you love those characters? In which case, I'm all for it, but I'm excluding that from this tier list. So that's something you have to remember. Heihachi does not belong here, obviously. But he's here because why the fuck would you pick him? Right? That's why. You're a hella good Mishima player, you nail electrics all day. Why don't you try this guy out? You know? You might have a better time. You feel me? I'm just trying to explain the logic here, because if you just look at this, you have a lot of questions. Why is Heihachi in B tier is one of the first ones you would see, you know? Or, you know, there are, like a character like Eddie Gordo, right? I'm a huge Eddie fan. I love the character, and I think he's awesome.
What is Noctis' weakness?
You know, okay. First, let me finish about Eddie. I think that Eddie is a really unique character, right? But what he does, it doesn't end up being worth the risk. The risk versus reward of this character is very high. Too high for me to put him in any tier above this. So, just because all these characters are together in this group doesn't necessarily mean they have anything in common. Heihachi doesn't have much in common with Eddie, but he's in the same group because of two different reasons, right? High risk, high reward, not worth the effort, and why are you picking this guy when there is a character in the game so clearly making him obsolete? At least on paper. At least on paper, to me, right? So, oh yeah, that guy asked about Noctis. So I wasn't even gonna put Noctis on this list because I feel like I don't know enough about him and I haven't seen enough from good Noctis players to judge. But if I was gonna put him somewhere, I think that A is a safe place. Because I don't really know. I'm being honest, I don't really know. Something could come out, something could, you know, already exist that I don't really know about, so I don't feel comfortable putting him anywhere. I'll just drop him in the mid tier. He seems good. He doesn't seem bad. He's definitely unique, so he doesn't belong here, right? So there's definitely a purpose to using him that no other character has. The range is very unique. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's my tier list. Hopefully it massages some conversation into you gormless stoners. I think that the thing that really made me want to make a tier list is last time I talked to Rixta, he said that he thought that Raven was top 10 and that a lot of people thought Raven was top 10. And then I thought to myself, okay, can I think of 10 characters that are better than Raven?
What about Lars?
Just a sec. I was thinking, can I think of 10 characters that are better than Raven? And I started naming off characters. And, excuse me. There are a lot of characters that are clearly better than Raven, to me. Raven might get a shitload better because she has options for every scenario. She might get a lot better in long sets. But in tournament, when you don't have enough time, I think, and you strip away the gimmicks, that's another thing that I failed to mention. I try my best to strip away gimmicks. At the top level, you know, people are going to be prepared to deal with shit like Horang, right? You strip away the Horang gimmicks and he's in trouble. How come Akuma is higher than Goose? I think that the reason Akuma is higher than Goose is because of one thing. That is the EX DP. Goose can make the comeback happen just like Akuma, but I feel like Akuma's EXDP dictating the match is key in tournament. And I think that when he has meter, he is way more dangerous than Goose with meter. Goose with meter is buff, but Akuma with meter is like, okay, this motherfucker has a DP and I have to start really being careful and considering when he's gonna use this. And that in itself is a big factor in tournament. So, and plus we've seen it. I mean, this isn't theory. I've seen it many times. And remember earlier when I was saying that execution is not that big of a factor in tournament because it doesn't vary. Execution is execution whether you're at home or in the clutch. But decision making in the clutch is very hard. It's something that you have to do on the fly. And you can't practice it. You can't put yourself in the clutch at home and make nervous decisions, right? So you can't practice this and be prepared for it. You have to be a trained competitor in the field. This is stuff that you have to practice in the field. while you're nervous. You can't practice it at home. So, like I said, you know, I think that the EXDP really dictates the match. And I think that Geese is hella good. Like I said, A tier is good. All of these characters are very good. In fact, even B tier, like I've been trying to emphasize, every character in the game is a beast. We see Zhong Ding winning with Chloe all the time. I mean, we just saw a Bear player make top 8 at arguably the most stacked tournament of all time in Korea, right? I mean, we've seen it many times with, you know, many players. So, basically, that's where I'm at. Noctis, I'm not that sure about. He could be A+ or S, I don't know. He's high risk, but he does so many things uniquely. Anyway, everyone's asking about Lars. Lars. So, I think Lars is a really good character, and in fact, I think he's pretty unique. Kind of like Eddie, right? But I feel like this character is like an enthusiast character in this game. Because the risk is high, the reward is moderate, but he's finicky. I think that's a problem. Side combos. He's just finicky, drops out. The wall carry needs to be more precise. You kind of go out of your way with this character. Same with Lee. You go out of your way with Lee. You're going way out of your way to get the same shit done that, let's say, Law could get done. Right?
Butt hash. Jack Miller, Fox 30 News.
Don't you think it's weird Lars went from S+ tier in TTT2 and T6 to garbage tier in T7?
Well, I mean, do you think it's weird? People didn't really like how good he was in the last 2 games. He was good in such a, Okay, here's what I think. I think nobody ever really liked Lars. Who the fuck likes this weird dumbass, right? They just liked him because he was so fucking cheap, right? And the proof is in the pudding, because they nerfed his ass and now you never see any Lars players. Nobody ever really liked this character. He's fucking trash. And they nerfed him because everyone got butthurt that he was really good in 2 games in a row. And now everybody left him in the garbage can. Nobody gives a fuck about this guy. You know? He's whack. That's what I think. I think that he was just really good in the last 2 games. Tekken Tag 2 especially, he was such a, I need a good character, let me pick Lars. It's like every tag game that has synergy, always has 1 or 2 characters where it's like, if I don't know who to pick, just put Cable on my team, or Psylocke. You know, like, he was that kind of character, where I don't know who to pick, I'm not good, or I don't know how to play any other characters, let me get max damage combos with Lars. You know? That's how I feel about the character. He's always been kind of like that. Nobody really loves Lars, he's fucking stupid.
Thank you.
Well, anyway, maybe they do, right? I'm being an ignorant bigot here, but that's what, you know, you get the sentiment, basically. Yeah, Sentinel. Damn, 50 Cent? Lars is 50 Cent. You're right. Nobody fucking liked Sentinel. You're right. That's a good comparison. Get rich or die flying. Lars. He's like Sentinel. Definitely. I don't think I have anything else that I need to mention. I think it's pretty clear. I think the differences to me, they're pretty clear. If you at least understand my logic, right? I could easily put Kazuya in S. But I don't think he belongs in S. And I could easily put these guys in S too. But they're just more limited, and I don't feel like they belong there. And a lot of these characters down here, I feel like they're very capable, extremely good, lots of unique and dangerous strengths. Unique. This is I think the key word for the A category.
Jack Miller, Fox
Unique
30
and
News.
dangerous strengths.
Tell me about Leo.
Hey, NYC King KOF. Thanks, man. I mean, Leo, I already mentioned it. You know, she has so many good moves. You know, it's not... There aren't... The list of good moves is so big that on the one hand, she can deal with any situation. Unlikely that there are bad matchups for the character because just so well-rounded, right? Well-rounded character. But
what about Nina?
That is also, it's a double-edged sword when it comes to a tournament tier list. On a tournament tier list, decision-making in the clutch is extremely important. And when you're given a huge arsenal of weapons, sometimes it's almost better to just have a primary gun and a secondary gun like this guy, or this guy, or this guy, right? Okay, primary gun, let me use my long range. Secondary gun, he's close, let me use my short range. Simple answers. Decision making is made simple, at least with these 4 characters, right? And then, you know, a lot of these characters, that's the issue in this list. Leo, Jin, King, a lot of these characters, Law is another one. Such a huge move list with lots and lots of utility. Tons of things you could do. Paul, super utility. These characters all, look at this guy. This guy too, Jin, unchickenable parry. All these things are like this huge, vast move list that will deal with any problem. But the problem with these characters, the double-edged sword, is that in 2 out of 3, you don't have time. Sometimes you just need a primary and a secondary, and you need to kill the guy in front of you. And that's it. Anyway, what about Nina? Yeah, Nina's a super great character, and one of the most unique characters in the game. I feel like the A tier of this game, uniqueness shines in this tier list.
Thank you.
Nina, she takes a lot of work, and the reward for the work is high.
What about Sub-Zero?
Sub-Zero. Thanks very much. The reward for Nina is very high, but the work you have to go through, it's a little bit too much work for her to be anything more than where she's at.
I love Lars, fuck you fat fuck.
Hey, thanks Token Truth. All the Lars players are butthurt. Why would you like Lars? Anyway, thanks. And Tom Brady, thanks. I love Sub-Zero. I can't wait for the new Moron Combat. I heard they're gonna announce it at E3. Shit sounds good. Oh yeah, Nina. Yeah, she's very good. She just takes a little bit more work. Hey, you gotta work hard.
Fox 30 News.
Much like
Thoughts on Panda?
Jesus Christ. Power Lifty number 2. Yeesh. What's up, Moon Moon? Hey, Power Lifty. Thanks, muchacho. Let me wash that $100 dues down. Thanks, man. Anyway. Thoughts on Panda? I mean, we just saw him. I think Panda is just the perfect example of why a game like Tekken, the regular standard style of tier list, does not apply. You need to factor in tournaments. Because on paper, this guy is awful. He's trash. He eats more damage than any other character. More moves hit him, whether it be standing or grounded, than any other character. And he's just got tons of unsafe moves, right? Very little in terms of utility and stuff like that. But you add in decision making. You factor in that he's a big fucking moron, right? On screen. You factor in the shit that goes wrong against him, the unknown factor. When something happens against Kuma in a tournament, 2 out of 3, morale gets flushed down the toilet, you're getting mauled by a fucking bear. And we saw it happen in Korea, the highest possible level of Tekken. We just saw it with our own 2 eyes. So, you can't ignore that every character in this whole game is capable of winning. If one of the worst characters is able to, and this is on paper, one of the worst characters is able to dominate many matchups in front of our eyes. it really tells you that you need to factor in pressure. Pressure, tournament pressure changes the tier list completely, in my opinion at least. If nobody played Heihachi, wouldn't it be harder to play against him from lack of experience? You could look at it that way, but if you're going to follow that train of thought, then you have to factor in gimmicks. What you're doing there, what you're doing there is you're factoring in gimmicks to a tier list. And that's very hard to do. It's hard to factor in gimmicks because you're trying to mathematically quantify how much the average person will know. So it won't work. I don't think it would work. Personally. You have to exclude gimmicks. Like, for example, a character like Horang, if you don't know the matchup, you're going to get gobbled up, right? Same with even, a lot of these characters.
Miller, Fox 30 News.
A lot of these characters are very matchup.
Can you give me a quick rundown on Yoshi in Tekken 7?
Anyway, let me just stay in order here. Buff Lee. Can you explain Lee? Well, I mentioned it already. He's an enthusiast's character. The work you have to go through doesn't warrant the reward. At the end of the day, you work your ass off, and I feel like Lee can't. I mean, you could pick Paul. Sorry, you could pick Law or Steve, and you would.
I like you. I appreciate you. I like what you do.
Hey, keep it down, will ya? Thanks, Brian Maid. Anyway, I feel like there are other characters that could do what Lee does, but better with less work. So unless you're a Lee enthusiast, which is fine, I feel like there are other characters that can do the same thing, but better. Or more or less the same thing. I mean, your skill set is better used with another character. That's what I mean.
Butt Hash, Jack Miller, Fox 30 News.
Thoughts on Caterina?
Let me start with Yoshi first. Yoshi's cool. Anyway, Caterina, I think that, like I said, very unique character, right? Very peculiar, unique character that has like a balls out playstyle. You got big balls, you can make shit happen with this character. But in the end, the weaknesses of this entire category, they're just glaring, right? This category has like glaring weaknesses in one way or another. Whether it be high execution, or why am I even picking this guy when this guy's in the game, or high risk, or limited move list, or whatever. There's a lot of like one-dimensional offense for Oscar, shortened limbs over here for this guy. Even though he's good, he's just not as good. His strengths are not as it's not a star in the sky. It's just like, all right, there are strengths, but the weaknesses are clearer in the A tier. Miguel is obviously S+. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. The types of people like this and like Token Truth, they're the types of people that don't like it when you say, why the fuck would you play this character unless you're an enthusiast? That's usually how enthusiasts respond, because it's like sensitive, right? Don't talk about Miguel. I love Miguel. Anyone talks shit about Miguel and it's like, all right, you struck a nerve. That's what I mean. You see? Only an enthusiast would respond in such a gormless way, right? That's what I'm telling you. You love these characters with your heart, and someone says they're trash and only enthusiasts play them, and that's it. It's like, fuck this. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, case closed. You feel me, Bruise? Anyway, I think I need a break. Then we'll play some games. What do you think?
Thank you.
What do you say? Break time.
Butt Hash, Jack Miller, Fox 30 News.
Sup Stoner, thoughts on Hurang?
Are you just tuning in? I feel like people are like not listening. Are you not listening? I've been giving my thoughts on Hurang the whole time. Why aren't you listening? See, the thing is, now I feel like even if I repeat, you won't be listening. So why repeat? Man, could you imagine being a parent? Ugh. I think it's a really common problem of parents having to repeat themselves. Shit. It sucks. Anyway, Peromane.
Butt hash.
Thanks.
Jack Miller,
And
Fox 30
Skylark
News.
MK and Credit.
Hey Aris. Thanks for all you do, but please, can you explain why Yoshi just seems so trash? I understand any character can be good, beautiful. Yoshi is doo-doo. Change my mind. Please.
Hey Tetsuo, thanks. I don't think that Yoshi is doo-doo. At all. I just think that he's an enthusiast's character. You gotta really love the character and know all the nuances and ins and outs. You gotta know where to punish with Flash, do the special, detailed Yoshi stuff. It's like he's his own game. He's in his own world, you know? So he's a very unique character with a lot of potential, but he's definitely an enthusiast's character, and if you're hella good with him, you and your skill set is better off using another character. Yoshi players, most of the time, they're not trying to win. They're trying to paint, you know? They're not trying to win. If you were really fucking trying to win, you would have picked Yoshi. You know, they're
Why
trying
is
to get
King so
crazy.
high?
They're real ninjas. They play free.
Butt hash. Jack Miller, Fox 30 News.
What about Eliza?
Eliza. Yeah, I think she's similar to Akuma and Geese, but I think that her weaknesses are more clear, and I think that her bad matchups are a little bit higher than these characters, but I think her strengths are there, and I think that her meter and EXDP, much like Akuma, in tournament can really dictate the pace, and anything that really dictates the pace in tournament, to me, is very valuable on a tournament tier list. So I think she's great. I think all these characters are great. I know if you can play Mishima, you might as well play others, but Heihachi can't be that low. You don't seem too bright. So I'm not gonna try and change your opinion. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna ignore you. But if you were a little brighter, you would understand that one of the first things I said about this tier list is the reason Heihachi is here is because I see no point in picking
His
him.
wazi are sick.
He doesn't belong on any other tier here because there's
Hey
no
Aris, what
intelligent
about
reason to
insert
pick him.
character I play? Thanks.
It's only enthusiasm. That's it. Only enthusiasm. That's the only real reason to pick him. Your skill set is better off here. Anyway, you know, it's no big deal if you can't figure that concept out. If all you're able to see is that there's a B here and Heihachi's next to it, I can't help you. I'm trying to give you clarity why there's a B here next to Heihachi, but you're not listening. You know, it's okay. Take out the papers and the trash.